The uniqueness of my travel in this thing that we call life leads me to put poems together on topics that from the outside don't seem to go together, don't go together at all. But for me, they fit perfectly. The two poems I'm sharing today epitomize this. One's about a place, the other's about a person. And when I tell you that, I bet you can see how they do go together because for me, that person and the place, they're linked. The person I'm addressing in one of today's poems is my father. As a father, I know this is a hard role to play. I also know it's an important one, and it's one that nobody's going to navigate perfectly. Neither my father nor I are perfect parents. Let's look at today's first poem entitled, My Dad. He undoubtedly had a massive impact on me, a genetic component, a nurturing element, imprinted like a tattoo. Fighting was important to my pop. From a very early age, he instructed me. He prepared me. And if I didn't fight at the appropriate times, his disappointment was voiced. I hold admiration towards him and resentment. I'm like him, but I'm not. Gifted some blessings and curses too. Characteristics that instilled fear in me. Fearful that I would resemble him. So when my Uncle Charlie told him, Henry, he would have beaten you, he was perplexed. A few drops of pride mixed with a large serving of humble pie. He protested weakly, knowing I was better than he ever was. Be careful what you hope for. That father-son parental role, that's a bit crazy. Does that poem resonate at all with you and your relationship with your father? The relationship between a father and a son, it's complicated. I know I've wanted to be a stepping stone for both my children to be better than me, to be happier than me, and to have more than me. From a treetop perspective, that all looks good. But what if the tree that your child wants to climb in their life is not the one that you had imagined? What if the tree they want to climb is one that has dangers or ramifications you don't want your child to experience? If so, things get complicated quickly. Next, I want to travel way back to a special place, a place that reminds me of my father and the neighborhood that ties me to him. This poem's entitled The Cloisters. An oasis, a best-kept secret, nestled in the most beautiful part of New York City, where tourists hardly ever venture. Found at the top of Manhattan, north of the George Washington Bridge, cozied up to the Hudson, now part of the city's museums, the Cloister, a medieval enclave where Indians traded wares into the last bastion of the Dark Ages. The art, the architecture, and the history are unmatched. A monastery, a castle, a fossil to another time, draped in art. Architecture that's from another time and place. It's magnificent and unique. There's loads to see, but for me, it's the gardens. I remember the first time I witnessed the gardens, just a child, overwhelmed by the natural beauty. As Borges wrote, time in this place does not obey order. To a child, it's magical because of where it is, juxtaposed to the city in which it resides. The moment I walked out to the gardens, the memory fresh to this day, life changed. I instantly knew that I had underestimated life. There was more, so much more than my handful of years could have imagined. Until I walked out into those gardens, liberating, empowering, filled with hope. In a weird way, you could say I was born that day. Perhaps if you've never been to the Cloisters, that poem's going to land awkwardly with you. But if you've been there, I hope I've captured the magic of it. It's a remarkable place and a unique place. And I would encourage you to visit it if you ever get that opportunity. This is one of the reasons I love poetry. It lets me share so much with you. Speaking of sharing, I want to share these poems with you right now. Let's keep the conversation going. I think you're going to like these poems, or maybe they're going to challenge you. Either way, let's dive into them now. We'll see you over there.